You may have looked at a map and noticed something along the coastlines of South America and Africa. They look almost like two puzzle pieces made to fit together. Well, they are, sorta. All of the continents used to be part of a supercontinent called Pangea. For years, scientists worked to put the pieces of the puzzle back together. But for a long time, it was kind of like putting a sleeping bag back in its sack.
Oh, come on. Who is this girl?
I'm Abby, half of the team here at the Nosy Lab Rabbit. The other half is busy right now. But for a long time, the coastlines of Africa and South America were deemed just a coincidence. But here's the thing. Our maps don't show the true edges of the continents. They show the coastlines. And coastlines change based on sea level. So when we look at the continental shelves themselves, the lines start to, well, line up. A continental shelf is the part of the continent that's underwater and relatively shallow compared to the rest of the ocean. Let's go back in time. A man named Alfred Wegener, a German geophysicist, astronomer, and fuzzy hat aficionado, first came up with the idea of continental drift. He proposed that the continents had once been one supercontinent, which he named Pangea. This idea would become the foundation of our modern understanding of plate tectonics and the formation of Earth itself. But as we've seen time and time again, coming up with a theory is only half the battle. In order to have your theory accepted in the world of science, you need evidence, and a lot of it. Just ask Darwin, Galileo, or Pasteur. Many people had already noticed the coastlines, but Wegener went a step further. Wegener found fossils on corresponding parts of each coastline, and these fossils weren't the kind of animals that would really swim across the ocean. But this wasn't enough evidence for many people. The idea of an entire continent moving felt too earth-shaking. Wegener published a book containing all his theories about continental drift and the possibility of a supercontinent. The book was called The Origin of Continents and Oceans. Unfortunately, Wegener died in 1930 on an expedition in Greenland, and for a while, it seemed like his theory died with him. But as the world progressed, our ability to observe, measure, and understand the world improved too. And by the 1940s, we had a new way to map the world: sonar technology. I'll have Lucky, my lab partner, explain that.
Sonar works by bouncing sound waves off of objects deep in the ocean, essentially creating a map of ridges and valleys that make up the ocean floor. As these images became more detailed, scientists began to notice something. A mid-ocean ridge in the Atlantic Ocean seemed to run parallel to the coastlines of both Africa and South America. This was enough to reopen the case of whether it was possible that the continents had drifted over time.
Thanks, Lucky. By the 1960s, there was considerable evidence that Pangea had existed at some point in history. Let's look at that evidence. First, there's Wegener's fossil evidence that we talked about a minute ago that goes back to the late Triassic. It shows that the same species existed in places with an entire ocean between them. Second, rock layers matched up in the same locations in which we found fossils. Sedimentary rock layers preserve the environment of the past and provide a strong correlation. Third, within the rocks themselves, molecules had sorted themselves to reflect the location of the magnetic poles at the time of formation. The magnetic field goes through periods of reversal in which the poles pull in opposite directions, causing rocks that form during reversals to match up with other rocks formed at the same time. Looking at rocks from across the world, their orientation in regard to the magnetic field matches almost perfectly, meaning they were much closer when they were formed. But a new mid-ocean feature really caught scientists' attention. The sonar scans revealed a mid-ocean ridge between the coastlines of Africa and South America. It ran parallel, matching up perfectly. This mid-ocean ridge was created by the movement of tectonic plates. As plates move apart from each other, pressure is taken off the mantle, allowing for small volcanoes to form. Magma rises to the ocean floor, creating a mountain range underwater that we call a mid-ocean ridge. Scientists began to accept that continents were moving over time, which has big implications for geologic history. It means some land masses were closer than we thought. It means that our world has changed since its formation over 4.5 billion years ago. But one of the most important things it taught us is that the Earth is still changing to this day. We don't slowly drift. Instead, we move in jerky, sporadic movements over time. These movements are associated with things like earthquakes and volcanoes. It's estimated that the continents are moving around 8 centimeters a year. That's about as fast as your fingernails grow. It might seem very tiny, but over time, it really adds up, and Earth has been given a lot of time. Although continents don't drift away in the ocean, plate tectonics is responsible for movement, volcanic activity, earthquakes, rock formation, and the incredible diversity of life our planet has been home to, not just now, but in the billions of years we've existed. Thanks for watching.